Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 4 of the ASRC Classic Formula 1 Championship of 2022. My name is David Buckley and I'll be your commentator this evening, and you join us from the absolutely soaking wet Silverstone circuit for this round this evening. We have a fantastic lineup for you tonight, 7 cars all looking to get going. So as I said, round 4 of the circuit using 1991 layout of the classic Silverstone, which some may consider to be the better version of the circuit. I'll leave that for your interpretation. But just looking quickly at the standings coming into round 4, it's just coming to the halfway point of the season now. We have Chequered, who is currently sat in the top of the order with 22 points, and then Vladislav Zenkov in second position with 16 points, and then Timon Suvic in third position after getting his maiden win last time out at Manicourt. He sits in third place. Then Sander van Meuven in fourth position with 6 points, and Carl Besser in fifth with 4 points. Rounds out the top 5 of your driver standings. And then coming into the constructors standings, we have Benetton on the top spot currently with 27 points, followed very closely by McLaren with 26 points, then Ferrari behind, following a little bit further back on 9 points. They've not had the best of the season so far in the first 3 rounds. And then we have Footwork in fourth position with 6 points, and Williams in fifth position, taking up the top 5 spot. So just coming into qualifying now, as I said, we've got 7 cars with this evening. And before we get properly into the action, we do have a couple of penalties that will be carried over into this race. So Sander van Meuven, who I don't believe is here this evening, he would have a 5-plate grid penalty, but also Anatoly Tachenko as well with a 5-plate grid penalty. Unfortunately, I don't think any of these drivers are here this evening, so they will not be taking those penalties of this round, but after issues at Manicourt, then that is the position they will be in. So we'll get all of the information on the box for you here. As you can see, the spray is really kicking up. This evening at Silverstone, the weather is absolutely atrocious. We see Maurice Scamosa back once again after missing round 3 at Manicourt. He is looking to possibly have a better season than he has had so far, as he's not had the best of luck. Imola crashing out unfortunately after a massive incident, and as well in having issues as well in Interlagos. So he will want to definitely improve on that. So we'll ride on board with Morrow here as he comes through a lap. As you notice, we are on the older layout of the circuit, so now coming into turn 2 and 3 and 4 now. This is Magnus and Beckett's, which is normally midway through the lap on the newer layout. Very big sideways moment. He gets the car under control onto the hanger straight, and this is where the cars are getting to the highest of speeds. Try and get a little bit of temperature in on those groove tyres, and then braking into stow. Carry as much of that speed through it as possible. This way you expect cars to be into the pit lane in modern layout, but not here. Braking into Vale, slightly different layout. I think it's a little bit wider here in this configuration of the circuit, through Club and onto Abbey. Now where you'd expect the car to suddenly go to the right into that new complex, you fling off to the left down Farm Straight and into the bridge section of the circuit, which no longer used. Really fast corner through bridge there, using all of the downforce in the car, then through Priory, which is now we're back onto Brooklyn. So this is where the end of the straight will be, and then coming through Luffield and Woodcote now to finish out the lap. So a little bit of a shorter lap than it is nowadays, but coming through start finish line now, he's purple in both sectors so far. We'll see where Scamosa goes. He goes pole position, 1 minute 31.408, so a decent lap to start the proceedings here this evening. Not too long of a qualifying session in this season. We see Lee Russell there, I think that was, in the McLaren, getting all out of shape at the exit of Beckett's onto Chapel, and he is he's underway once again, doesn't seem to have any issues. Yeah, as I was saying, not long to settle up. You get 15 minutes qualifying session in this series. and using the old style points as well. 10 points for first position, 6 points for second, third gets fourth, and it's 3, 2, and 1 points all the way down to P6, and that is your lot. So, providing you can finish the race this evening with only 7 cars on the grid, you are looking at a decent result for to get points positions here. So looking at the current timings, we have Morris Scamosa on pole position, 1 minute 31.408. Car we're looking at here, Lee Russell in second position, 1:32.001 as he goes for a little bit of a jaunt into the scenery. Timon Suvic, last race winner at Manicourt. He is in third position, 1 minute 32.411, about a second off the pace of the pole sitter at the moment. And Jakob Kowalski, our championship leader, is currently in fourth position, 1 minute 32.637. Then we have Cal Vesser, Alexander Schultz as well, rounding off the grid. Vladislav Zenkov just setting laps now. As you can see, Lee Russell flying through the pit lane. Got to get the car stopped nice and easy. There's going to be absolutely zero grip in that pit lane as he comes back onto grid. We'll have roundable with Vladislav Zenkov, who is in the Benetton. Purple through sector 1. 32.670. So just keep an eye on that one. Under 10 minutes of the session to go, so already a third of the session is gone. Personal best through sector 2. He's not set a lap yet, has Zenkov, so we'll see where he lies. He's the last one to set a lap. Coming through the final couple of corners, it will be through Woodcut, and that'll be his time. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a provisional pole? Yes, it is. 1 minute 31.142. A good 2.5 tenths quicker than Scamosa behind, but still plenty of time for the drivers to set laps, as we'll see there. Looks like Zenkov is going for another lap. As you see, I believe that was Lee Russell possibly. I know, yeah, Kowalski, my mistake, coming out of the pits to start his lap as he's had a spin. So little bit of cold tyre issues there for our championship leader, but nonetheless he is back underway and it seems to be all okay. So, a little bit of a note for this series. We are running to pretty much the 1993 rule set, which will be no speed limit in the pit lane, which is the big thing. So you'll see cars absolutely fly through pit lane. Nothing to do with tyre allocations or anything along those lines. You just use whatever tyres you want. Chances are this evening it's going to be the wet tyres. There is the forecast calls for a lot of rain today, so it's going to be very tricky for these drivers. As the last race we did have, which was the last wet race we had, which is at Interlagos round 1, that caught a lot of people by surprise, and a lot of different strategies started to play out there. So everybody knows what the weather's going to be this evening, so we'll wait and see who can deal with it the best. So 7 minutes just over in qualifying remaining. We're following our championship leader, Jakob Kowalski, in the McLaren. That classic Marlboro livery, which a lot of people absolutely adore, me included. Coming through sector 1 now. Is this going to be an improvement? It's a personal best through sector 1. It's a 32.187. It's got a little bit of time to find on the top cars. Vladislav Zenkov and Morris Scamosa. You see the rain absolutely pelting down here. It's going to be so difficult for these drivers in these conditions. Sparks still flying from the bottom of the car, though. You see how tall the curbs are in this this layout of the circuit as well. As I said, we're using the 1991 layout today, and yeah, the curbs are well, they are curbs. You do not want to be over those, especially in weather such as this. So using as little of that as possible is the key. Coming across the line now is Kowalski. He does improve. He goes 4th fastest, so 1 minute 32.208. So he is still a second off the pace of Zenkov, who was looking to secure a very dominant win last time out of Manicourt, but just made an uncharacteristic mistake in the closing stage of the race. It took him completely out of the race and gifted the win to his teammate. Lee Russell there in the sister McLaren goes quickest to 1 minute 31.069. Absolutely stonking lap from him. He goes quickest. He's less than a tenth up on Zenkov behind, but that would be a fantastic result for Lee Russell. Once again, not having the season so far that he would have wanted. He's been showing good pace, has Lee here. He's currently sat in 7th position in the standings. Missed a couple of rounds, I believe. He definitely did miss the last round at Manicourt. But yeah, Imola having the engine blow up. I think he was involved in a couple of issues and coming together in Interlagos as well. So he's going to definitely want to improve his results this evening. Doing a pretty decent job so far with 4.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Remind you once again of the starting order as it stands at the moment. Lee Russell, who we're looking at the moment, pole position 1 minute 31.069. Then Vladislav Zenkov not far behind, 1 minute 31.142. Morris Gamorza, who's been showing a lot of pace so far and just not able to convert that into results in the races he has competed in. 1 minute 31.408 for him. 4th place, Jeko Kowalski with a 132.208, and then Timon Sulik, last race's winner, 1 minute 32.360. Carl Vesser in the Williams, I believe, is in 6th position, 1 minute 33.362. Then rounding off back here, we've got Alexander Schultz, who is currently sat on a 136.080, so a lot of time to find there. Morris Gamorza goes quicker, 1 minute 30.655, absolutely destroying the pole time as it stood, a whole 0.4 of a second quicker than Lee Russell. So Gamorza showing his pace and does have a point to prove this evening, as I've said. So 3 minutes left to go in the session. People running out of time to set laps here. Lee Russell going back onto the track as well to improve on his time. Vladislav Zenkov also on the track as well. He is currently on an out lap. Most people on an out lap at the moment. It's going to be tricky for anybody other than Morris Gamorza here to take pole position. 4/10 is a lot of time to find, and over a second and a half when it comes to Jacob Kowalski, it's going to be even trickier as well. But the track could be changed. Looks like the rain is starting to ease off in the final stages of qualifying. I say that as I see even more raindrops start to fall. So possibly different lines. Drivers will be experimenting with here. As you see Scamorza, I think, in the background going a bit wayward as he is trying to set another lap. He's down on both first and second sector here, so this is not going to be an improvement. And as he dives into pit lane, I think, unless he can get out very quickly here, then that is going to be Scamorza's qualifying over. Drivers have been told that the chicane on pit entry there must be followed. You cannot cut into the pit lane from the track or you will get penalised, so one thing to look out for there. Following Lee Russell once again, he's just coming to start lap, so we're right on board with him in the McLaren. Through the first corner there of Copse, nice and easy, and then through Magnus and Beckett's, some of the best corners in British Motorsport, as a lot of people will say. And then on to the hanger straight at Chapel now. Stowe there. And breaking into Violent Club. Goes purple in sector 1, does Lee Russell, so he's up on Scamorza. Let's see what his time's going to be in sector 2 now as we come across there. And to back out a little bit there, but he does go personal best in sector 2, so this could be a flying time here for Russell. Interestingly enough, Vladislav showing on the soft tyres, so clearly experimented to get as much time as possible. He's not improving on his time, so it doesn't look like that is the best option for the moment. Car off into the gravel there as Lee Russell comes through. Is he going to beat Scamorza? 130.6 is the time to beat. He's done it! 130.565, just under a tenth up on Mauro Scamorza, but Scamorza is currently on a lap. He has got the time to do it, and he is just about made it over the line there. So Lee Russell is done, Vladislav Zenkov done, Suvik, Schultz and Calvesa also done as well. So we only have Scamorza, who is going to be able to set a time here, and possibly Kowalski as well, who did a personal best that time, 131.914. Not quick enough to challenge the cars ahead though. He's about 7/10 of a second off Vladislav Zenkov. Lee Russell getting straight out of the way there, it looks like, as Scamorza comes through. He's down in sector 1. No improvement for Scamorza so far, but still plenty of the lap to go. A bit wider than the exit, got to be really careful on those painted lines. Extremely fast section of the circuit, the bridge section here. Break into Priory, coming into Brooklands now. That's where the lap is coming to an end. He's down in sector 2 as well. No improvements so far. He's about 0.2 off in sector 2. And he's abandoned it. So that is going to be, unless Jacob Kowalski can improve here by a drastic amount, by 1.3 seconds, that is going to be your order. So coming across the line, we'll see what Kowalski can do, and he is coming into the pits as well. So that is going to be your order for the race this evening. Lee Russell takes pole there just for a Mauro Scamorza with a 130.565. So quickly run through the starting order this evening as we get ready for the race. Lee Russell in the McLaren in pole position with Mauro Scamorza in second place. Vladislav Zenkov in third in the Benetton with Jeff Kowalski in the other McLaren, rounding out the second row. Followed by Timur Suvik in the Benetton, last race's winner, and Alexander Schultz in the Jordan. And then at the back of the grid, Calvesa rounds off the grid in the Williams. And that'll be your grid for this evening's race. Good opportunity to score some points here this evening and help you in the championship race. And we'll just have to wait and see who can capitalise on this. Who's best in the wet. It's going to be a wet race for pretty much the entirety of the race this evening. So we'll have to wait and see who can really capitalise on that. Mauro Scamorza and Lee Russell showing decent pace at the start here. So let's see how they can do. So we're just going to go into a quick 10-minute warm session and then we'll be back into the race action. So just a reminder of the championship standings at the moment. Jacob Kowalski currently leading the championship by a solid 8 points. So he is looking good to maintain the championship lead, providing he can get a decent result this evening. Vladislav Zenkov in second position with 16 points. He's going to want to close that gap up as much as he can. Scamorza currently sat in 11th position. He is the top driver to not score any points yet in the championship, so he will be looking to jump up the order if he can. Leave Russell, once again, as I said, currently sat in 7th position in the McLaren. He's really going to want to improve on his chances and get back up to the top of the field, fighting with his teammate and the Benettons. Speaking of the Benettons, yep, they lead the championship standings by 1 point, 27 points to 26 in the McLaren. So the fight is between those two teams at the moment. Ferrari are lagging quite far behind this at the moment with 9 points, and with neither Ferrari here this evening, then they are going to fall even further backwards. So both Benetton and both McLarens are here this evening. So we're looking at Vladislav Senkov and Timon Suvic, who are going to be in the Benettons, and then the McLarens, we have Lee Russell, who's on pole position, and Jacob Kowalski in 4th. Not to discount Scamorza, obviously he is going to be a real spanner in the works when it comes to the championship standings, and he, provided he can get a decent result this evening, he could catapult Jordan up into the fight, providing he can get to the end of the race. It seems unfortunately Scamorza has just been involved in incidents that are not necessarily going to be his fault. I think he did get a penalty for a collision in Interlagos that he served in Imola, but yeah, he was just involved in an accident. It was nowhere near his fault there, which took away from what would have been a dominant win. Looking at the weather here, it's absolutely tipping it down at the moment. You can see how shiny the track surface is. There is absolutely no grip. This is what it's going to be for pretty much the entirety of the race. I can tell you, living in the UK and with us using a real weather plugin, I believe it's not either a plugin or it's script. It's obviously definitely scripted weather. It is like that. It is definitely that kind of weather. So, hope you all brought your umbrellas for the race this evening. So only Scamorza and Timon Suvic currently on track. I say Scamorza's back in the pits. So I would probably use this time just to get used to driving the car on full fuel once again, because refueling is banned in the series like it was in real life in 1993. So the fuel you'll take is the fuel you've got to get to the end. So coming from a qualifying session where the car is fueled for 3, maybe 4 laps at most, to a car that is filled for a full Grand Prix distance, because that's what we're doing this evening. It's going to be a full Grand Prix distance, 59 laps. So this is going to be quite the slog for the drivers this evening, especially if the weather stays like this. So getting used to how the car handles in conditions such as this on high fuel is going to be vital. Getting used to the wet tyres as well. You see our little grip that the car has coming out of the corner. Oh, and just massive understeer there for the Benetton. Goes off into the weeds, but back on the racetrack. So you may be wondering, oh, 7 cars, that's not really a lot. That's not going to give us a really good race. I will tell you now, that is incorrect. These guys have been absolutely pushing each other to the limit. The grids have been relatively small for all rounds so far, but the standard of drive has been absolutely fantastic. The racing has been brilliant, and there's been action throughout the race. So You'll absolutely want to stick around for this, especially on a track such as Silverstone 1991 layout. It's absolutely fantastic. High speed, high downforce, fast flowing corners, got everything you want in a good racetrack, and plenty of overtaking opportunities as well into the important parts of the circuit, into Stowe and then through Vale as well. And then if you're really brave, through Priory and Brooklands, that might be an opportunity. And if you're really, really brave, trying around the around Copse could also be an option. However, as we did see in a certain British Grand Prix not so long ago, that can come with issues. So it's just 3 minutes to go until we get the race session underway. We'll have a warm-up formation lap to get the drivers round, warm up the car, warm up the tyres and the brakes as much as they can in these conditions, and then the race will be underway for the full Grand Prix distance here this evening, so stick around for that, and it will be, I'm sure, a fantastic event to watch. If you're interested in getting involved in this series as well, there is absolutely plenty of space for you to come along. The car is free R-Factor 2 content, so all you need to do is own the game. I believe we do use a couple of DLC tracks, but nowhere near as expensive as it could be these days. So get yourself involved. All details are in the description below. Guys are very cool, very nice, and will absolutely appreciate some more drivers to race against in this series. That's not the only series they do as well. There is a couple of other series they do. Your Formula 1 2022 season, which is currently ongoing, and a Formula 3 series as well. So whatever takes your fancy, you can get involved in that as well. I believe the Formula 1 series has unfortunately now come to an end, but there's still plenty of racing to be had. This series running until next year. It's an 8-race season, and we'll be going to Spa-Francorchamps on the 7th of December as well. And then, so there's 2 more races after this before Christmas, so plenty to get yourself stuck into, and then 2 races in the new year where we go to Japan and Australia. So everybody about on track now. We've got both Jordans here as well. Alexander Schultz in the Sister Jordan to Scamosa, currently on circuit as well. So yeah, as I said earlier, providing both cars can get to the end of the race, that could catapult Jordan up into, at the very, at most it will be 3rd in the championship, but that will be an absolutely incredible job for them should they get up there. If Scamosa can have some decent results in this series, if we get to the end of this race, then that will surely catapult him up into the standings to start fighting for the championship win as well. As I say that as Morrow goes a little bit off the track and into the weeds, but we'll just pretend we didn't see that. 30 seconds to go in the warm-up session. Everyone's just going to finish their laps and get back to the pits, and then we'll be underway for the race session. So just a reminder once again, full race distance we have this evening. It's going to be a 59 lap race, so as a complete Grand Prix distance. Free tyre choice, no requirements on tyre compounds to use. It'll be a wet race anyway, so the chances are we'll be on the wet tyres for a considerable portion of the race. No refueling is allowed in the race either, so you have to fuel to get you to the end of the race. No speed limit in the pit lane to mimic the 1993 Formula 1 season, and just a rule of you can't press escape to get back to the pits during the qualifying and race sessions, unless obviously you crash out completely. So just waiting for the session to roll over now, and we'll hear our favourite R-Factor man as he announces that everybody needs to clear the grid, and we'll get all the cars onto the grid ready for the formation lap this evening. So just a quick reminder of the starting order we have this evening. Lee Russell and the McLaren is going to start on pole position with Skamorza alongside him in second place. There he is. Vladislav Zenkov in the Benetton in third and Jacob Kowalski in fourth position. We'll have Timon Suvic in the sister Benetton in fifth position and Alexander Schultz in the Jordan in sixth. Carl Vesey in the Sol Williams this evening will start in seventh position. So as everyone gets onto the grid now, get the formation lap underway. You can see the weather is absolutely dreadful. There's going to be very, very little grip for these drivers this evening. You can see the reflection on the road. It's going to be quite difficult to get these cars around. But we have it any other way when it comes to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. It's got to be wet because it normally is. We're racing in November in Britain. It's going to be raining. Just waiting for the last two cars to get onto the grid. Lee Russell, our pole sitter, and Vladislav Zenkov as well in the Benetton. Just to get on the grid and we will get the formation lap underway. See Skamorza going back to the pits. Clearly not happy with part of the setup. His backdoor driver's now on the grid and ready to go. And formation lap underway. So this is the opportunity now for drivers to get the heat they need in the tyres, in the brakes, and just get feeling for the car. And also control the nerves as they come to the start of the race. Nothing worse than the pre-race jitters you get on these formation laps. You want to make sure everything is perfect. You get yourself a good launch and you get into the first corner, ideally a position or so higher than you started, but at the very least where you started. Especially in these conditions as well. Even though there's only 7 cars, those 7 cars are going to be very closely packed, and it's going to be a fight going into turn 1. Relatively quick formation lap here, as Lee Russell clearly not wanting to hang about. See a spray being picked up here. Cars at the back of the grid are really going to struggle with visibility here. You get any form of spray coming off these cars and just visibility is gone. You cannot see where you're going. You're just hoping you can see the rain light on the back of the cars, which yeah, I don't think we have this evening. So yeah, even worse still. You can see cars in the background just ducking out of the spray just so you can see where they're going. You can see that a lot in the opening laps. Cars and drivers going all over trying to find some clear space and clear air just to be able to see the corner apex, to see the braking zones, and just survive in the opening laps. So the pack starts to come together as we come through the final corners and getting the race underway for round 4 of the ASRC Classic Formula 1 Championship of 2022 at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in the UK. Look on the grid now. Everyone gets into their spots. Luckily there's not too many more cars, otherwise you would be starting on a corner. So everyone on the grid now, the lights will start to go. Revs rise. And we're off. Short lights there. And it's a good start from Russell. You squeeze, just wobbles past and blocks off Skamorza. As we had Zenkov as well get a decent start. He's up into he's staying in third position. Lee Russell gets the best start there. He's starting to make his way away from the pack there. As we see Skamorza is battling and trying to keep the Benetton behind him. Kowalski, decent start. He manages to hold on to his position in fourth place. Looks like everyone managing to make it through the first couple of corners in one piece. all limestone, which is good. Looking possibly side by side in the background, difficult to see in the spray. See Cal Vessel trying to make some moves in the background. See everyone just tiptoeing around the circuit here, but look at the gap that Lee Russell's pulling here. It's over a second already. Obviously no DRS in these cars, but he is well outside of any danger zone at the moment. So fantastic start from the pole sitter. Scamosa building a little bit of a gap here to third position, which is Vazenkov. About 0.7 of a second between them now. Come through sector 2 now. Everyone on the wet tyres, obviously, in this race at the start. There's a Calveso and Alexander Schultz at the back of the grid having a little bit of a fight here, wading through the spray and the rain. But everyone holding a station at the moment. Everyone's finishing the first lap where they started with a quite a pedestrian start to the race, understandably, because the conditions are absolutely atrocious. See Timon Suvic here having a look at Kowalski, our championship leader. Not the best exit out of Copse for Kowalski. Manages to defend the position coming through Magnus and Beckett, so, and builds up a little bit of a gap. Suvic is going to want to have a good exit to get him onto the back and into the slipstream of Kowalski. He'll right on board with him now, as you see just how little you can see off the car ahead in the spray. Got to spot your braking marker. Manages to get it pulled up just about the front, just washing with the understeer there. Very little grip. And the braking now into club, a little bit wide. There's Kowalski. That's going to put him under threat. And he goes very wide, and there goes Timon Suvic straight through into fourth position. But this fight is definitely far from over, as these two will continue to battle. Now, it's just a small mistake is all it takes in conditions like this. Oh, there, I was saying that Suvic goes wide again, and that leaves the door wide open for Kowalski to go straight back through. He says thank you very much, and back up into fourth position goes him. Fight stunner over there, all over the back, coming into the final part of the circuit now. Is Suvic gets right up onto the gearbox of Kowalski, not close enough to make a move. Lee Russell goes fastest. Gap remains about 1.2 seconds between them, but Scamosa is starting to turn the wick up, it seems. The battle for fourth position rages on. Through the first corner now, right on the back still is Suvic. It's not the first time this season these two have had a battle. Harking back to the last round at Manicours, whereas Kowalski was battling both of the Benettons for position on alternate strategy and doing a fantastic job to come away with the second place he got. But doing a fantastic job once again to keep Suvic behind him. Gap is just over a second to the leader now, so we'll have to keep an eye on that battle. Kowalski going wide again through Stowe corner, but able to keep the position for the time being. Goes wide once again, and maybe nearly contact between the two. Looking to the outside, Suvic to try and find a way through. No such luck that time round, and has to come through Abbey once again behind Kowalski. Oh, they both go wide. They follow each other off, and there's a spin. Kowalski spins, he's still spinning, and Suvic managed to get back on the road ahead of Schultz and Vesa, but that has put Kowalski, the championship leader, right to the back of the field, which is absolutely not what he needed. So that battle over for the time being. That's Schultz off as well. Not sure what happened there, but he is out. He is off into the weeds, back underway, but that puts him back the bottom of the field, just outside the points. Have a look at the battle for the lead here. Scamosa is just about keeping Lee Russell within his sights. Let's right on board with him and see what kind of full inputs we get going home. You can see there's barely any movement. in the car. It looks like he's got quite the small steering rack on, does Scamorza. Smooth moves to get the car turned in, a little bit of washing from the front end. Combination of the wet weather conditions and also some of the aerodynamic push of the car ahead. Oh, big sideways moment there. Coming through Vale and Club. Let's get back on the power. Still about a second between these two cars now. It's the closest battle we have on track at the moment, so keep an eye on this. Scamorza does have the fastest lap, 1 minute 39.980, and that will surely start to come down as the race continues. It's coming through the back end of the lap now. The gap really narrowing down at the back end of the lap as Scamorza goes a little bit wide, loses that advantage that he had, and that's putting him second behind once again. Through Copse once again for the 5th time. And Zenkov just keeping on the back of these two. He's about 2.5 seconds off the back of Scamorza, so any grief that becomes these two drivers, he's going to be able to benefit from. Down the hanger straight, no changes for the time being. Very wide line from Scamorza there. Looks like he's trying to find some more grip on the outside, away from the defined racing line. Keeps the car together for the time being. So it's into the last sector here that Scamorza does seem to have a little bit of an advantage over Lee Russell ahead. Lee Russell obviously wanting to win his home Grand Prix. Providing he is British, I'm assuming he is. Very early start if he was Australian, or he should still be working if he's American, so. Oh, Kowalski going back down the grid. Has he been off the track yet? I believe he has. Oh, he's doing a big lazy half spin as well. Kowalski, our championship leader, really struggling in these conditions in the early stages. So back to the outside of the points goes Kowalski. He's really going to want to improve his standing and get some more points to help secure that championship lead. Back to the battle for the lead. It's about 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds is the gap now. And yeah, Zenkov again just lurking in the background there. He is just biding his time, it seems. But doing a fantastic job at the front of the field. The gap starting to widen between drivers in the start here. Oh, look, see Scamorza going a bit wide there, attacking the trackside camera. Actually, it's close a couple of tenths on Lee Russell through that sector. So yeah, Scamorza definitely stronger through the final couple of corners, but it's just not able to just keep that advantage coming onto the start-finish straight. So a bit of work to do for Scamorza. About a tenth slower that lap than Lee Russell. Lee Russell getting very sideways and squirrely coming through Copse. Through Magnus Beckett's now. No such drama so far. the rain's still pouring down at Silverstone this evening. Have a look at the weather forecast. Looks like there is going to be a little bit of a break in the rain in about half an hour's time, which should then see us to the end of the race. So yeah, this could be interesting. This could develop the race ever so slightly here. So there could be a period towards the end of the race where track dries and the soft tyres come out. So in that case, if you're the driver, if you know what the weather forecast is going to be, what do you do? Do you try and hold these tyres on until that point, or do you just push and just hope that the wet weather stays and the wet tyres stay? This will be going on in the drivers' heads. 39.8 set for by Lee Russell there, the last lap time, so he goes quickest and he's about 2 tenths quicker than the car behind, which is Morris that lap around. And Zenkov starting to drop off the back of these two now as Lee Russell continues to grow that advantage 10th or so at a time. In terms of the championship standings in the constructors, this is looking relatively good for Benetton here. Obviously, McLaren sat on 10 points as it stands at the moment. If they were to finish the race like this, but P3 and 4, 7 points for Benetton, which does put them behind a little bit more in the driver standings. In the constructor standings, but we'll have to wait and see. I think the Benettons will be hoping that Lee Russell can be reeled in by Escamosa here. So speaking of the Benettons, Timon Suvic's just gone purple. And set the fastest lap, 138.995. So that's a pretty decent lap from him. That's 6 tenths of a second quicker. He is now catching his teammate Vladislav Zenkov at quite the rate of knots. He is roughly 2 seconds quicker, maybe 1.5 seconds quicker that last lap. So our team order is going to start to come into effect here. Obviously, the championship much shorter than in real life, only 8 rounds, so going to the sharp end of the season where points matter. Do these two swap positions and Suvic try and chase down the leaders, or are they free to race? We'll have to wait and see. We'll keep an eye on this battle here. The Suvic currently flying. Kowalski really having issues at the back of the grid here. He's 40 seconds behind the next car. Oh, he's had a crash. He's had a big incident. He's crashed in the pit lane as well. Oh, absolute disaster here for our championship leader. That's going to put him pretty much completely out of the race. He's in the pit lane. He's going to try and get the car repaired, but absolute disaster for our championship leader. He's had a big incident somewhere, losing the rear wing, and also had a big incident coming into the pit lane, losing more of the car as he goes to a lap down as all the other drivers come through. It's absolutely terrible there. Sorry for catching that, Jacob. I know you won't be too happy with that. 50 laps to go in this race, so we are already a good proportion of the way through. Back to the battle for third position. last time around, about half a second quicker was Suvic than Zenkov. So he's still closing in, and he's, the Benettons are within touching distance of Russell and Scamorza ahead. So they've got a good opportunity here, especially with Kowalski pretty much out of the running for any sort of points, providing everyone else finishes in these positions. This is looking good for the Benetton team to really make inroads into the Constructors' Championship. Obviously the Drivers' Championship will matter as well to these drivers. They are all within running, and there's plenty of opportunity for points to be scored here, there and everywhere. So let's wait and see. Scamorza goes purple in Sector 2 on this lap. He is starting to push the car now, try and catch up with Russell. So that time's going to be coming across the line now. Fastest lap for Lee Russell, 138.522. It's 138.750 for Scamorza. So Russell still pushing and still extending that gap. The gap is up to 2 seconds now. So we see Kowalski coming out of the pits there, about 2 laps down, unfortunately for him. He's going to have to try and not get in the way of this battle going on here. So last time Suvic did drop back from his teammate by about half a second, so not ideal for the Benetton driver. Maybe a small mistake causing some issues there. Zenkov is actually starting to turn the wick up here. He's gone purple in Sector 1. So possibly deciding he's bided his time long enough, and he is wanting to make inroads on the top 2. As the gap between the top 2 really is starting to close here. Kowalski really wanted to run wingman here for his teammate, but obviously doesn't want to get himself a penalty for causing incidents that he otherwise shouldn't have done. Scamorza goes a bit wide there. Looks like Kowalski could try and get his lap back. Got to be careful he doesn't force the issue too hard here. Going towards the inside, just looking, not able to make a read into Cops. Probably a good idea not to make a move there. Suvic goes faster, fastest once again, 138.005. So the lap time's starting to come down as the tyres start to wear in, and I'm assuming some form of line starts to develop and the fuel starts to burn off. The rain doesn't quite look as bad as it has done, so it could be the rain is starting to ease. We'll have to wait and see. Gap between the lead cars, 1.4 seconds as we come through Sector 2 now. Kowalski still trying to make moves to unlap himself from Scamorza. To the outside there. Coming through bridge, not a move I would possibly make. Breaking into Priory and Brooklands. Down to 1.2 seconds now. So once again, Scamorza really closes up in that the bridge section, but just can't seem to get the power down coming onto the start finish straight. Just loses all the time again. Once again, looking for a move there is Kowalski. Not able to pull anything off. Oh, I say that he goes steaming down the inside of the exit of Cops and unlaps himself. Obviously not for position, but he'll be wanting to hold off Scamorza in the Jordan for as long as he can, just to help out his teammate and just try and build a gap. 2.3 seconds is the gap now. involved with Scamorza here. You can see exactly what he can see, which is not much. Seems to have to back the car in to some of the corners. Just getting the rear end around seems to be a bit of an issue for Scamorza here. You gotta be really careful through there, not to take too much speed. Get the braking right through Priory. Very unfortunate this section of track no longer used in real life, just access and service roads these days, which is a bit of a shame. It'd be nice to see some classic racing on that old circuit, but I don't think that's possible these days. New fastest lap from Jacob Kowalski, 137.029. And that's just after Lee Russell did a 137.576. So lap times are starting to come down on the track here. So that could be a sign that the weather is improving. I can't see any raindrops at the moment. Look at the time. We're still expecting light rain until what will be 9:10 UK time, which is GMT. So there will be rain on the track still. Yeah, but Kowalski really pushing the car now. He wants to get as much time back as he possibly can. There's a McLaren drive now, our championship leader. Having major issues at the start of the race, having an incident somewhere causing damage to the car, which had to get repaired in the pit lane. And those McLaren mechanics doing a fantastic job to bolt a new front and rear wing and fix the suspension geometry within a good just a few seconds. So fantastic job to them. So when it comes to tyre strategy, again, if the drivers know what the weather forecast is going to be, well, we'll see within about 10-15 minutes rain starts to ease. Do they try and get those tyres as far as they can? We see that Morris Scamorza is in the pit lane, so he has decided, no, I don't want to get the tyres as far as I can. I'm going to come into the pits and we'll bolt on some new ones. So we'll see what tyres he puts on. He stays on the wet tyres for now, which is a good call. But is it a good strategy call to come into the pits now? We'll have to wait and see what other drivers do. So Scamorza comes back out onto the track in 4th position. Suvik and Zenkov take up 2nd and 3rd. So interesting strategy from Scamorza there. He thinks obviously the wet tyres will be used for a little while longer. And doesn't think that you'll be able to save enough of the tyre to make it worth it. He goes off into the gravel. Too much speed there coming into Stowe. Manages to keep it going and not get himself stuck in the gravel or into the barriers. But yeah, he needs to be careful on those cold tyres. He's going to have the Williams of Cal Vesa for company in the next few laps if he's not careful. So he's going to get those tyres up to temperature, take it easy for the first couple of laps and just bed those in. You see the lap times start to fall as those tyres get up to temperature. A lot less spray coming up now as well, so you can see that visibly there is a lot less spray on parts of the circuit. There is still wet parts of the track, which is a fantastic feature of the R Factor 2 engine, is you can have areas of the track that are wet, areas of the track that are dry. So that could have been the wrong strategy call there for Scamorza. We'll have to wait and see. Back with your leader, who's got a 5-second gap, close to 6 seconds over Vladislav Zenkov. We've seen something like that before from this McLaren in Imola, which before, unfortunately, the engine did explode in spectacular fashion. We hope nothing along those lines happens this evening, but yeah, the track is definitely starting to dry now. there is a lot less spray coming off the cars, just patches of the circuit that are still quite wet and putting up spray. So we'll see the lap times, I think, start to tumble here, and drivers start to think about whether the dry tyres would be the better option. It's still wet in some vital areas of the track, though, especially into some of the heavier braking zones and through apexes. So it's going to be a couple of laps away yet. So the last lap was a 37.8 from Lee Russell. Coming across the line shortly, we'll see what his time is going to be. 37.6. The times are starting to fall. We see Scamorza in 4th place. He's going quickest of anybody in the first sector. And the 3rd sector on the last lap as well. So he is really flying. Yep, Scamorza goes 2 seconds quicker there, 1:35.859. So the wet tyre is still working for the time being on the Jordan, but how long is that going to be the case? Battle starting to develop here between Kyle Visser and Alexander Schultz. Oh, that's actually Kyle Visser coming into the pits. So let's keep an eye on Kyle here. We'll see what tyres he puts on, steaming through the pit lane. Into the pit box, he put dry tyres on. So Kyle Visser is the first to gamble, put the soft tyres on. Let's see what that can do for him, and possibly try and catapult him up the order ever so slightly. A little bit of lag there from my side, do apologise. Car looks to be relatively stable. Comes your leader. Leader is continuing on for the time being. We'll just keep an eye on Kyle Visser's time, lap times, as he's got a bit wide there goes Lee Russell. You have to be careful. The more he does that, the more the race director is not going to be happy with him. Simon Suvic and Vladislav Zenkov into the pit lane. He's going to put wet tyres back on. Interesting. So clearly Zenkov doesn't think that the track is quite dry enough and has put the wet tyres back on. Kyle Visser going on board with him here. Looks like he's really struggling for grip through some of these corners. So his best lap so far is a 39.0. So we'll wait and see what his times are going to be coming across the line after this lap, because this will be his out lap. Scamorza currently holds the fastest lap with a 1:35.8, and that's currently on wet tyres. So let's keep an eye on Lee Russell here. He's going to pit this lap. Looks a little bit slow coming out of Brooklands there. Not pitting this time by, so he stays out for the time being. Simon Suvic as well. Is he going to come into the pit lane? Yes, he is. So Suvic comes in. Let's ride on board with Suvic and see what tyres he's decided to put on the car. Very clumsy pit entry there of the chicane. Kowalski in the pits as well. See what tyres he put on the car. Suvic comes to a halt. Wet tyres again, okay. Interesting. Kyle Visser. So, staying on the wet tyres. Scamorza also staying on the wet tyres. back up into second position, but he has yet he is back on. Oh no, Zenkov is on the soft tyres. According to the graphic, was I on board with him? Ah yes, he is. Okay, so it took a while to update on my screen, it looks like. So yeah, Zenkov on the soft tyres. Suvic definitely still on the wets. But Zenkov is going faster. He's catching up with Scamorza, it looks like, as well. So this could be the crossover point now where the soft tyres are the tyre to be on. "40 laps remaining in this race." Is your leader still going on that same set of tyres? Now Suvic's showing on soft tyres, so yeah, it must have taken a little bit of time to update on my side, unfortunately. But yeah, two Bennetons both on the soft tyres. Scamorza is into the pits. He's taking a cone out, and he is coming on to what I would assume would be soft tyres. So a bit of a mistake of a first pit stop there for Scamorza. He should have just held out. Put the soft tyres, or put the dry tyres on at this point. So he is back down into fourth position now. He should make it out ahead of Schultz's teammate. Yep, comfortably so. So 18 seconds is the gap now between Zenkov and Russell. But Zenkov is going about 3 seconds a lap quicker now on those soft tyres. So this is where Russell needs to really start to think about his strategy. He is slower by a considerable margin on these tyres, so is he going to come into the pits this time? No, he carries on. Not sure if this is the best option here for Russell. We'll keep an eye on his times. He's on a 36.7 that time round. It's a personal best. Kowalski is currently doing personal bests as well. Currently sat a lap down, unfortunately. Scamorza going purple in the second sector. Zenkov going purple overall, 34.4. That's a good 2 seconds quicker than your pole sitter. Or the car in the lead, I should say, or who was also the pole sitter. And Suvic's done a 33.5. So the soft tyre is definitely the tyres to be on at this stage of the race. Or at least the dry tyres. So Russell needs to make a decision here. How long can he hold out? And how much time can he afford to lose on these wet tyres? He's going to have the tyre advantage from the end of the race, though. So maybe just holding on for as long as he has a pit stop advantage, and then putting on the new tyres when it's getting marginal. About 15 seconds is the gap now, which I think is roughly a pit stop. So this is the moment Russell needs to act, I think. Is he coming into the pit lane? Yes, he is. So this is the moment that Russell decides that the wet tyres have done their job and he can come into the pits. Into his pit box. Car goes up. He's going to lose out. Here comes the Benetton. That's Zenkov into the lead. So Russell, I stayed out too long. I thought he was risking it. 18 seconds in the pit lane. And Civic goes fast as 132.8. So we're getting close to qualifying pace here. So that was not the best strategy call from Russell, but he is going to have much fresher tyres than Zenkov, and he's going to be able to push hard on those new tyres. He's going to have the tyre strategy advantage towards the end of the race. Approaching half race distance now. So it's where strategies are going to start to diversify slightly. The gap's not unmanageable there. It's a 5-second gap between Zenkov and Russell. So Russell did actually lose a lot of time. He was only about 2 seconds ahead of Scamorza before the before the pit stops happened. Scamorza, the real loser in that circumstance. He's down to 4th position from 2nd. After having to pit more times than he needed to. So here's the current race leader. This is Vladislav Zenkov. Kowalski behind him. Leroy going quickest in the last sector. So we'll see what kind of times he's doing. The last lap for Zenkov was 1:32.9, which was a personal best. 1:31.8 for Scamorza. So Scamorza is really starting to push now to try and catch the Benetton in front of him for 3rd position. That gap is around 4 seconds. Yeah, Russell's going purple in all sectors now as he starts to close in. The gap is just over 4 seconds now. So we're going to have 2 battles converging at once. Schultz is in the pits. I'm assuming for a tyre change in the Jordan. Back with Lee Russell. There's the leader in the Benetton. Got a lap down. Kowalski behind him, and then 2nd place is Russell now. Personal best in sector 2 for Russell. Was it 33.7? That's about half a second quicker than the car ahead. lap for Zenkov. 31.6 for Lee Russell. He is absolutely flying in that car. Right on board with him here. Closing Magnus and Beckett's here, using all of the advantages that soft tyre gives him, which is going to be a good handful of laps younger than Zenkov's ahead. Gap is under 3 seconds now coming into sector 2. Purple once again for Lee Russell in sector 1. That time starting to tumble now as the track conditions get better and better. That's how quickly he's closing in on the Benetton. You got to get through his teammate first though, who is a lap down. So should just dive out the way. Through a bridge and into Priory. Gap has crept back up to 2 seconds, but we know this part of the track isn't Russell's strongest point, but coming out of Luffield and onto Woodcut here is where he is strong. Using the slipstream of his teammate, Kowalski gets way out of the way, goes, go on Lee, go for it. Gap is 1.9 seconds, another fastest lap there for Russell, 1:30.347. So he is absolutely wringing the neck of that McLaren, trying to catch the leader. And there you can see how close it is now, 1.7 seconds is the gap. Going off the racing line there is Russell trying to possibly just find some dry track. We shouldn't see any rain now up for the next 15 minutes. So, yeah, we might see some more rain come down and possibly just change the dynamics of this race ever so slightly again. Scamorza fastest in sector 1. But Russell is absolutely flying now. 1.2 seconds is the gap to Zenkov. You see how close they are getting now, riding on board once again. Oh, that's a big mistake there from Zenkov. The pressure getting to him coming through Brooklands. Through Luffield now. You see how close they are now. It's going to get the end. Slipstream is Russell. So next lap is going to be the opportunity, I think. Gap is under a second now. Russell goes even quicker still. 1 minute 30.170. Now, how long can he get those soft tyres to last? Is he using the life quicker than Zenkov is ahead? Is Zenkov just holding a little bit of pace in reserve to try and defend? We'll have to wait and see. But not a good exit out of Beckett's there for Zenkov. Gap is 0.4 of a second now. Simon Suvik is going quick as well in the final sector, but nowhere near as quick as Russell. He goes right close to him in the braking zone. You see how much more confidence that Russell has in the braking zones. See how close he can get. He's nearly tucked under the rear wing of the Benetton. Through Club now, and we'll come up to Abbey. Really high speed corner. You have to make sure you got all the downforce you possibly can through here. The gap winds ever so slightly through there, but braking now into Priory and through Brooklands once again. This would be the chance here for Lee Russell. Needs a good exit. The decent enough exit. Lose a little bit of pace in the acceleration zone, but the slipstream really starting to take effect now. Not close enough this time. Gap is still 0.3 of a second. In this as well, Moro Scamorza is closing in on Timon Suvik, but we'll keep an eye on the battle for the lead. Scamorza goes fastest with a 129.986, so the first one under 130. Lap times will continue to fall now. You see the gap still close, little tiny bits of spray being kicked up by the car still, so the track isn't completely dry, but you can see a racing line starting to develop. Not a good exit there for Zenkov at all. That leaves him really vulnerable coming into Vale. Trying the switchback manoeuvre there as Russell he goes, going to be on the outside for Club. Around the outside, all the way around the outside. It's not going to be very grippy around there at all, but he makes it stick. It's still side by side. Coming through Abbey, they're still side by side. They're going to be side by side coming through British Motorsport. Then he comes out between the two. Russell has to back out. Through Priory, they're near enough, wheel to wheel. This is fantastic racing between the two. Russell's going to have to try and find his way around the outside once again. Not going to make it work. Can a switchback go? No, there's no room to make a manoeuvre. He's going to have to go the long way around. Through the final corner, Luffield and Woodcut. He's going to try and make a move into Cops. Is he going to be brave enough? He has got the pace, but he's going to be closing in. It's Timon Suvik and Scamorza, but these two absolutely ragging the cars here. No move through Cops. It's absolutely fantastic side-by-side racing for pretty much half a lap, these two. But once again, through Mags and Beckett's, not a place you can take the car side-by-side unless you're really, really strong. And determined 129.3 was the fastest lap for Scamorza while we were watching this. Not close enough this time as Lee Russell. Into Vale Club once again, nearly tucking the car under the rear wing of Zenkov. Right on board with Lee Russell once again. The gap looks a lot bigger when it's on board, but trust me, it's not only half a second. Not the best of exits out of that corner there for Lee Russell, but he just has so much more confidence coming through Bridge. Just able to close the gap straight up. Gap for third position is coming down as well. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but this battle's still going on. Just absolutely nowhere for Lee Russell to go. You see he has to back out the throttle constantly to stop hitting the back of the Benetton. And once again, Zenkov manages to hold off for another lap. Looking down the outside of Kops, not able to make anything work there. Morris Scamorza has got past Timon Suvic, as Suvic has disappeared into pit lane. Okay, so Suvic pitting those tyres, but this battle still rages on. Lee Russell 3/10 back once again. He's going to close in under the slipstream. Not as quickly as you might think. Possibly Russell using a bit more wing in that McLaren than the Benetton, which would make sense when it comes to how quickly he can get around these corners. He's under the braking into Vale. He can just really tuck himself under the rear wing. But that just compromises his exit coming out into Abbey. Through a bridge once again. A bit more of a gap. Lee Russell just absolutely sent it through that big wiggle from the McLaren. He manages to gather it back up, but that is a big mistake there for Russell. All that time he has gained is now gone, and he is going to have to just work on getting all that back, as Scamorza is just starting to reel them in now. It's going about half a second quicker that last lap, but how much tyre life does Russell have in those tyres, and how much does Zenkov have as well? There is probably going to be one more pit stop that will benefit Scamorza, as well as his tyres are going to be fresher than everybody else's come the end of the race. So this could be a three-way battle for the lead towards the end of the race. Battle continues now though. 0.2 of a second is the gap. It's closing. Coming down the hanger straight. Dived on the inside. Oh, there's minor contact with the wheels and a spin for Russell. That was a very optimistic move from Russell. He managed to keep it going though. Gets back on the road, and that is him now having to defend from Scamorza. Unfortunate end to that battle. It was absolutely fantastic, but yeah, I think Russell's just a little bit too eager to try and get past there. A little bit optimistic on the brakes, and that has put him out of the fight for the time being, and that is going to be Zenkov with a massive sigh of relief as he is able to continue on, and Russell is going to have some horrific flat spots on those tyres now. Calvesa into the pit lane for what I'm assuming will be one of his final stops of the evening, and he comes out in 6th position, fighting with Alexander Schultz in the sister Benetton. So this is for 5th, and it will be a points paying position, so 2 points up for grabs here. Down the hang straight they come. Not close enough is the willingness to make a move on the Jordan, which is not something that you'd expect to hear from this point in time, but it's a good thing about league racing like this. Every car is equal, which means every car that you would not normally see fighting for race wins and podiums and the likes, or even actually getting into the races, getting through pre-qualifying, can be fighting. So here we have a Jordan fighting with the all-dominant Williams. Towards Suvic going quickest, 127.750. So those new tyres are doing him all favours right now. We continue to watch this battle. 0.4 of a second is the gap between the two. Onto lap 31 they go. Very close coming through Maggots and Beckett's, but once again nowhere you can make a move through there. Is very much one line unless you are forcing someone else off that line. Looking to the inside there is Vexet. Nowhere really, not really close enough. Breaking into Vale. through club. The gap does widen on corner entry, but narrows once again an exit. Fantastic exit from the Williams. Through Abbey. Closing to try and make the move through bridge. Not this time. Has to back out and waits for a few more corners. Oh, and that's Shorts, I think, making a small mistake there, and that's Calvesa through into 5th position. So that is 2 points to the tally for the Williams team, providing he can get to the end of the race in that position. And you need to see how much more pace that the Williams has at the moment, just pulling the gap quite easily for the time being. Lee Russell, even after having that spin, is still closing on Zenkov. About 4/10 of a second quicker that last lap. Went purple in sector 2 with 127.408, so it's only 0.03 of a second off the overall fastest pace set by Timon Suvic in 4th. You can see there the gap isn't that wide, only 5 seconds, only 6 seconds to Morris Scamosa. So yeah, this pack is going to converge once again towards the end of the race. We are quite possibly going to see a massive 3-way scrap for the win here come to the final stages of the race. I'm expecting at least one more pit stop to grace us with this. Doubt the soft tyres will be able to go the remainder of the race. But Russell and Scamosa looking best in terms of tyres. Scamosa out of the 3 of them was the last one to stop, so he's going to have the best tyres come the end of the race, or the end of this stint, and yeah, and to the end of the race. 127.5 for your leader, 127.4 for Lee Russell. So the gap's slowly coming down. As quickly it was before. The tyre starting to wear on the McLaren now, it seems. Scamosa into the pit lane. So that's another early stop for Scamosa. I was not expecting him to stop that early. Suvic goes fastest, 127.093. He comes out ahead of Scamosa. So I'm not entirely sure what Scamosa's doing here. He's on the soft tyres again. The rain's not coming yet, so yeah, I'm not quite sure about that strategy. So he's got Kowalski behind him. Kowalski had an absolute mare of a race, our championship leader. Qualified 4th position. But has just not been. He's just had an absolute shocker, and he's all the way down at the back of the grid, 2 laps down off the leader. So we'll see Scamosa now start to reel in Suvic. He's got fresh tyres. Gap is 1 second between these two. Purple through the middle sector goes Scamosa. Gap is under a second now as they cross the start finish line. Coming on to lap 35. Kowalski taking the fastest lap there, 126.745 for him. I doubt that'll last very long as Scamosa's absolutely flying right now. He's going to have all the slipstream he needs. But he is going to start battling with the Benetton driver, so this is the 3rd position. So right on board with Morris Scamosa here in the Jordan. He has the tyre advantage over Suvic. Breaking now into Vale. Oh, big sideways moment for Civic. Manages to gather it all up, but that just lets Scamorza right through. And that is third position for the Jordan driver. It's very well held for Civic. Very good to look at, but unfortunately not the quickest way around Vale there. So a big handful of opposite lock, and into fourth place he goes, and into the pits goes your race leader Vladislav Zenkov. So will this be the final pit stop? I'm not entirely sure. It does depend on whether the rain is coming back. So we are expecting rain any minute now, according to the weather forecast. And that rain would see us to the end of the race. Only light rain, so I'm not expecting too much. 126.040 is the fastest lap for Scamorza there. Absolutely rocketing. So Zenkov is relegated in second place after his pit stop. Lee Russell continues on, retaking the top position. Now, what does Lee Russell do here? Does he react to Zenkov and get himself on strategy, or does he do what he did before, just use as much of the tyre life as he can, maybe try and wait out the weather? Nope, he's coming into the pits. So Russell doing the exact opposite of his strategy last time, which is to try and go as long as he can on those tyres, maintain track position, and he comes into the pit lane. There's got to be a good stop for Russell here. He's got to hit his marks. He does so beautifully. Car goes up on the jacks. Tyres are changed. And he's back underway. So Scamorza might be a threat here coming onto pit exit. He's out ahead cleanly of Scamorza there. And it's 4 seconds is the gap between him and Zenkov now. Zenkov going really quickly in the second and third sectors there. So the tyres up to temperature, doing well for him. See what Lee Russell can do on those fresh tyres now. He's also got to look in his mirrors for Scamorza as well. So this three-way battle for the lead of the race could end up being a four-way battle. Should Timon Suva get involved as well, because he is only about 3 seconds behind Scamorza. So this is all to play for here. Purple in sector 1 and 2 goes Zenkov. Lee Russell comes through now. So what's the lap time going to be for Zenkov? 124.645. Absolutely flying lap there for the Benetton driver. So 125.3 for Scamorza. It was a 138 for Lee Russell, but that is an out lap, so that doesn't count. So let's wait and see what kind of lap time Lee Russell can do on those tyres. Excuse me, as I just knocked the microphone. It'll take a couple of laps for Lee Russell to get those tyres up to temperature. 30.8 in the first sector for Zenkov, 31.3 for Russell. So Zenkov has the early pace here. Gap up to about 5.5 seconds between the two. And Russell goes marginally quicker through the second sector. So let's see what kind of lap times both drivers do now. 24.7 for Zenkov. 25.1 for Russell, so a little bit slower, and even slower Skimores at 25.2. So the top three starting to diverge slightly here. It's going towards the closing stages of this race now. It might be possible to get these tyres to the end, but as I said earlier, we are expecting some rain to come down according to the weather forecast. According to the weather forecast out here, in about 3 minutes, rain should start to fall. Oh, Kowalski's out the race. That's terribly unfortunate for him. Not entirely sure what happened there, but he is out of the race. And yeah, what a disaster this evening has been for the championship leader. He should walk away still with his championship lead intact, but yeah, not ideal for him at all. I know actually he won't walk away with his championship lead intact, providing if Zankov can get the win here, that he would take top spot away from Kowalski. So yeah, not safe at all. So now all you've got to do if you're one of the main drivers is just finish the race and you are guaranteed points. So that would be a good result for Schultz if he can do that. 20 laps to go in this race. Well on our way to getting towards the end now. And any minute now we are expecting a little bit more rain, so should that come down, that is going to change the dynamic of the race even further. Lee Russell setting fastest lap last time around, 124.514, which was quite a considerable amount quicker than Zenkov. So Russell now getting those tyres up to the operating window. Gap is under 5 seconds now. See what the lap times are. Looks like Zenkov was going quick that time, 124.264 for the Benetton. And it was 125.020, so reacting there was Zenkov and pushing that car just a little bit further away from Russell. So ignore the number of stops that you can see there. They are a little bit broken. Everyone has made at least 2 stops in this race. So I've got to be really careful of those curbs there. They are quite vicious on this layout of the circuit. If you're just joining us, we are at the 1991 layout of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. In what will be round 4 of the ASRC Classic Formula 1 Championship. The lap times here relatively stable between the two leaders. Russell is marginally quicker. The gap is down to 4.3 seconds now. So he's gained quite a bit on this one lap. How's Russell? Maybe Zenkov taking a little bit too much out of the tyres. 124.8 was the last lap there for Zenkov. 124.4 for Russell. So Russell's starting to reel in the Benetton now. Scamosa has dropped off the pack ever so slightly. Still there or thereabouts. About 5.5 seconds between him and Russell. So battle not over yet. Could possibly be one more pit stop, although I think they might just be able to get these tyres to the end if they have to, if they really start to conserve these tyres. But 20 laps on 112. Even more than that, being nearly 30 laps on one set of tyres is a tall order. But if we see more rain, that could throw everything up in the air. Can't see any raindrops falling at the moment, but that could just be the graphic settings I have. The track conditions seem okay. People are doing personal bests in the top 2 anyway. Purple sectors 1 and 2 for Zenkov and Russell respectively. So doesn't seem to be any adverse weather at the moment. 124.313 that time for Zenkov, 124.312 for Russell, so pretty much identical lap times between the two, gap remaining at about 4.3 seconds. Not been the best first sector of the lap there for Zenkov. He's lost about 0.2 of a second to Russell, but all seems okay so far. We know that Russell's strength lies in the bridge section of the circuit, where the high downforce corners really start to come into effect. Personal best sector 2 for Zenkov there, so the trading pace at the moment of these two drivers. $16 laps to go in this race. There's still plenty of time for action to develop. Gap is 4.3 seconds once again. That time's pretty much identical between the two, top two, and you've got Morris Scamorza just dropping back. I think those tyres starting to let go as he did make a relatively early pit stop, and Timon Suvik into the pit lane again as well. So that'll be his final pit stop of the race, I'm assuming, providing wet weather tyres are not needed. There, speak of that, I can see rain. I'm pretty sure I could see rain. Yes, absolutely I can see rain. So the rain's starting to come down once again. So what has Suvik put on? What tyres has he put on the car? Let's have a look. He's on the wet tyres. This could be a good call for Suvik here. He's going to suffer on pace while the track starts to get a bit wetter. But that means he doesn't have to make that extra pit stop. So, interesting tactic there. Zenkov still continues on. The rain isn't bad enough yet for the wet tyres he feels. And I'm assuming Lee Russell will just do whatever Zenkov does at this stage, just pit when he pits. Some lap traffic will be coming up shortly there for our leader. Yeah, the rain definitely is coming down here. And we'll start to see times really drop off as the racing line gets washed away. So, always getting very, very interesting towards the final stages of this race here at Silverstone for round 4 of the ASRC Classic Formula 1 Championship. So we get to see who is better in the wet between these two. Russell had pretty strong pace at the start of the race in the wet conditions. He was able to hold off Scamorza. So we'll wait and see how things develop. When does Zenkov pit? Does he pit? And when does everybody follow him? We know Suvik is already on the wet tyres. Go for another lap does Zenkov, and so does Russell, I believe. Yes, he does. You can see him in the background. Yeah, 125.5, so for both the top two. 130 for Scamozza, so I think he's had a bit of a mistake somewhere, possibly. The track starts to get a bit more, or a bit less grippy. Suvic with a 150, I think that might be his outlet though, so I'll have to keep an eye on his times. I think he's still a good couple of seconds off the pacer on those wet tyres, so definitely not the crossover point. The gap is starting to come down a little bit between these two. Once again, they're just trading pace at the moment. Russell was a couple of tenths slower than last lap, but seems to be gathering it up just a little bit through this lap. So the gap remaining there or thereabouts at 4 seconds, lap after lap between these two drivers. So who pulls the trigger first? Who comes into the pit lane? That looks like Calvesa into the pits to put on a set of wet tyres. But the leaders carry on. Yeah, the lap time's really starting to drop now. 27s for the two leaders, 29 for Scamozza, and 31 for Suvic. So they're starting to converge. Are these lap times? But not quite there. Scamozza in the pits. So Scamozza has pulled the trigger. He is going on to what I assume will be the the wet tyres. There he goes. Now does he get out ahead of Suvic? He's got plenty of gap. Yeah, he's got another 20 seconds or so until Suvic comes along. So decent stop for Scamozza, and not quite the strategic masterpiece which I thought Suvic was pulling now, unfortunately. But a nice solid 4th position for him is secure if he can get it towards the end of the race. Just over 10 laps to go. Once again, top two cars very close. Gap is about 3.5 seconds now, but fluctuates between 3.5 and 4 seconds lap after lap. They've got a really decent gap between them and the 3rd place car of Scamozza now after his pit stop. And that was Calvesa, I think, coming into the pits as well. So it looks like the top two cars are going to be the last two remaining on the dry tyres. Are they going to try and get the dry tyres in? No, Lee Russell comes into the pits. Lee Russell goes into the pits and puts the wet tyres on. So, what does Zenkov do here? The lap times have converged now, so wet tyres are as quick, if not slightly quicker, than the softs. So, this is where things get very interesting now. So last lap time for Zenkov was 131.2. Keep an eye on this lap here. 33.2 in the first sector. I think that's about 2 seconds off the pace. But still quicker than Suvic's teammates, ever so slightly. So is Zenkov trying to push these tyres to the end? It'll be a tall order to do another 10 laps on soft tyres as the weather gets increasingly worse. So let's see what he does in this final sector now. Does he peel off into the pit lane? Is he going to have enough of a gap from Russell? If he does pit, he does come into the pit lane. So this is going to be vital now for Zenkov to get out ahead of his rival in Lee Russell. Oh no, he's hit the wall! Coming into the pit lane, bit too much power and he hit the wall. Looks like they got away with it though. The front wing is still on the car. The steering looks straight, but that's really not going to help his chances here. He comes in, wet tyres go on. And here comes Lee Russell coming around the first corner. Now it looks like he's just about going to get out ahead. Yes, he is. So that could have been so much better for Zenkov there. Little mistake in pit lane, costing him the time. And that is Lee Russell back into the lead of the race with just over 10 laps to go. With the lap traffic coming up ahead there, that's Calvesa in the Williams. You can see some of the spray starting to be picked up again now as the track gets saturated with water. Everybody now on the wet tyres. We should see this rain towards the end of the race. Until at least 25 past 10 UK time. Which we'll see is after the end of the race now will be rain. So this will be the conditions for the remaining 10 laps of the race. Zenkov 3 seconds back now. We'll keep an eye on lap times as everybody sets represented times now on the wet tyres. Zenkov really needs to keep an eye on his car. I wonder if he's carrying any damage. We have 10 laps to go. It's a 132.668 for Lee Russell, and he is the fastest car on track at the moment. Zenkov not set a representative time on the wet tyres from his pit stop yet, but Russell is certainly the quickest of the cars. He tries to get round the Williams of Calvesa, and Vesa nicely gets out of the way and off the racing line, and it's still side by side, and now slots in behind. Lee Russell really was held up there. Lost about 7/10 of a second from Zenkov trying to navigate the Williams. Let's see what Zenkov can do to get past him. Right on board with Zenkov. See if we can see him nursing any damage to the car. The steering looks like it is tracking okay. And obviously there is still front wing. Looks like he's able to carry the speed, so yeah, it looks like Zenkov just able to get away with that contact into the wall, into pit wall, and as he just needs to hesitate to get around the Williams there. Not the best place to meet lap traffic, but that's him through, and that should be no more lap traffic to contend with till the end of the race now. So these two will be able to go hammer and tongs. 2 seconds is the gap between these two. And this will be a fight all the way to the line now. Gap still hovering around 2 seconds. Zenkov marginally quicker through the first sector there, but nothing to write home about for the time being. .8 seconds is the gap now. The lap time 33.04. Lee Russell 32.7 for Zenkov. So gap is slowly coming down. The gap's at 1.5 seconds now. 10th by 10th. Zenkov is closing in on Russell. Catching is one thing, passing is another. We've seen these two come to blows earlier in the race as Lee Russell had the optimistic move trying to get around Zenkov. What's going to happen when the shoe is on the other foot and Zenkov has to get around Russell? We know how good he is at defending. How good is Zenkov at attacking? But he's got to catch up first. Another 1.3 seconds to gain on McLaren. Zenkov is so much quicker through the first sector. He's a good 7/10 of a second quicker than Russell. Loses time to second, a little bit of time through the second and third sectors. Yeah, it's a 33.8 for Russell, 33.2 for Zenkov. So the gap going shorter and smaller and smaller here, I should say. 1.2 seconds now coming into Magnussen Beckett's. Oh, Russell's off. It's a spin for Russell. He's now able to get the car going again, but that's a disaster for the leader. Just gets it all wrong, coming through Magnussen Beckett's and just goes spinning off into the daisies, and that has put a big gap between him and Zenkov. Now Zenkov just has the opportunity to run away. My question is, does Russell have any flat spots or damage to those tyres from that spin, which will affect him for the rest of the race? He has a relatively solid gap between him and Scamorza of around 21 seconds, so nothing to concern himself there. But that surely is the race win, over and done with. He's got about 7 seconds to find now in 7 or 8 laps, so it's a tall order for the McLaren driver. We'll see what happens. Maybe he's better at attacking than defending. He is gaining a little bit of time in this sector, but yep, we'll keep an eye on that as the race comes to a close. So as the results stand, this would put Vladislav Zenkov into the lead of the championship with 26 points. Russell would move up the standings well. He's currently on 4 points and he would gain 6 points. So that would put him on 10 points, which would sit him into 4th in the standings, which would be a solid return for him. Kowalski would move into 2nd in the championship. Suvic would remain in 3rd. So that really does start to change the dynamics of the championship. Kowalski not gaining any points from this round due to his retirement. And the rain still pouring here at Silverstone as we enter the final 5 or so laps of the race. Five laps to go, and Lee Russell, if he wants to challenge for the win, has got to gain at least, I'd say, 1.5 seconds or more per lap to get even to the back of him. It's going to be a tall order. Considering he was a tenth slow on that last lap, it's not looking very likely for the time being. As Zeikov's been in this position before, he's had a comfortable lead and he threw it away at Manicourt, so he just needs to make sure he doesn't repeat that and just keeps it on the road for the final 5 laps of the race. Morris Scamorza unfortunately couldn't challenge for the for 2nd and 1st position like he has been threatening for the entirety of the race, but that will be a decent result for him if he can score some points this evening. That'll be his main podium, and that would put him onto the board, actually scoring some points. That would gain him 4 points in the championship, which would put him up into 6th and 7th position, along with Kachenko and Vesa as well. But Vesa actually scoring some points, 2 points this evening as well, if he continues as they are. The rain continuing to absolutely pelt down here. So the gap closing ever so slightly once again between these two. Gap's down to 5.2 seconds between Zenkov and Russell. I'm not sure where that pace has come from, but Russell is starting to push once more. Not really enough of a gap at the moment. So the gap comes back up again as Zenkov comes across the line. 37.1 for Zenkov, 35.9 for Russell. So he is closing. He is going quicker, but whether it's going to be enough, it's not clear at the moment. Gone through Stowe. Now is our leader. With 4 laps to go in this race. Gap is 5 seconds now. Russell is pushing. I don't think he's going to have the pace to close in unless there is a mistake from Zenkov. But I am happy to be proved wrong. Zenkov just cruising around these corners now as the track conditions get worse and worse in the closing stages of this race. 3 laps to go here at Silverstone in round 4 of the ASRC Classic Formula 1 Championship. Relatively similar at times between the two. Last time around, so Zenkov just needs to get this car to the end. Nearly threw it away with that small bonk into the pit wall coming to make his final pit stop, but was able to recover spectacularly to get into the lead. He's got a comfortable gap of around 5 seconds to lead Russell, who was showing really good pace for the entirety of this race so far, and was just not able to stop himself making that small mistake, which could have cost him the win. But still a few laps to go. Anything can happen in that time. Zenkov is slowing up, it seems, just trying to cruise it and get to the end. Zenkov holds the fastest lap as well with a 1:24.264, which was set in the dry conditions earlier on in the race. Coming around to start the penultimate lap now is Vladislav Zenkov in the Benetton. .138.115 for Zenkov, 136.986 for Russell. So he's closing, but I think Zenkov is just backing the car off and just trying to get to the end. He knows he's got the gap and can afford just to sacrifice a little bit of pace to safely get it to the end. .3 seconds was the gap there. It's really starting to come down. I honestly don't think Russell has enough, but if he can continue to push Zenkov, then he might be able to pressure him into a mistake. Right on board with Lee Russell for a little bit of this final lap coming up. See what he can do. 3.3 seconds is the gap. It's not really a gap at all, but it's enough for Zenkov for the time being. Oh, big slide there from Russell. Manages to maintain the pace though. Coming on to the final lap now. Another second down. It's not going to be enough, I don't think, for Russell. He's going to have to bank on a mistake from Zenkov. Crash the start finish line to start the final lap here at Silverstone. Gap of 3.5 seconds now. I don't think Russell's going to have quite enough to hold on to get back on to Zenkov. It was close, but I think Zenkov just about has the gap. You can just hear from the engine notes how little Zenkov is pushing here. He just wants to get this to the end nice and safely. Russell is really pushing, trying to catch up. He's about a second a lap quicker at the moment, but it's not quite going to be enough, it seems. Come through Abbey. This is where mistakes are going to creep in, if any. Through Bridge for the final time. And through Priory. Coming through Brooklands now. 1.6 seconds is the gap. It's very, very close between the two. But it's not going to be close enough. Russell really tried to harry Zenkov at the end. But Zenkov coming through the final corners now. Gets on the power and has the gap he needs to take his maiden win of the ASRC Classic Formula 1 Championship here in 2022, round 4 at Silverstone. Fantastic result for him. George Russell comes home in second position. Not George Russell, I do apologise, Lee Russell. In second position, a good result for him to get some solid points on the board. Morris Gamorza coming across the line as well to take his first finish of the season and his first podium of the season as well. Get him on the board and get him shooting up the order. He'll be coming round the final corners ever so shortly. Oh, very wide at the final corner, just for good measure goes Scamorza, but he survives and he comes across the line to take the podium position. Timon Suvic coming around the final corner as well. That will secure Benetton first position in the constructor standings going into round 5 in 2 weeks' time. So that would be a good result for them. Then taking up the final 2 positions were Karl Weser and Alexander Schultz, who were a lap down but finishing very well. So let's take a look at the results from the race. We had Vladislav Zenkov taking the win in the Benetton Ford, and Lee Russell taking second position. A very valiant effort to try and get onto the back of Zenkov and challenge for the win, but unfortunately not quite enough he could do. Morris Gamorza takes third position, as I said, in his maiden podium and maiden finish in the series so far to get him on the board and up towards the top end of the points. Timon Suvic in the Benetton takes home 4th position, a good haul of points for the Benetton team. Karl Weser in the Williams getting a solid 2 points in his championship race as well, and then Alexander Schultz finishing the roundup this evening in the sister Jordan. Again, some decent results for the Jordan team. Then Jacob Kowalski, unfortunately, our championship leader, no longer championship leader, providing no penalties, etc. losing out on some earlier incidents and not able to finish the race. So once again, an absolutely fantastic race we've had this evening in Silverstone, round 4 of the championship. As we see in the background there, we've got our winner, Vladislav Zenkov, just doing some celebratory donuts in the wet weather. Really happy with that result. Quite spectacular when there's no smoke to go with it, but really fantastic result. And what a fantastic race once again we've had this evening. Say it sometimes, there's only 7 cars started this evening, but at no point did we not really have any action to watch. It's been absolutely spectacular watching these guys, and there's still 4 more races after this to watch as well. So please do join us in 2 weeks' time when we head to Belgium for the to Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix on the 7th of December. On the 21st of December, just before Christmas, we'll be having the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and then in the new year, the 4th of January, we'll be having the Japanese Grand Prix at the well-loved Suzuka circuit, and then rounding out the season on the 18th of January, we will have the Australian Grand Prix at Adelaide. So I do hope you enjoyed the race this evening. Once again, if you want to get involved in the series, there are plenty of spaces in this championship for you to get yourself in on the classic racing action. So head on over to the Discord, and all the links are in the description. Yeah, just get yourself on board and see what else is there for the taking. So once again, thank you very much for joining this evening. My name has been David Buckley, and I will see you in 2 weeks for the Belgian Grand Prix in Spa. But until then, goodbye.